Hello, everyone, and thank you for watching the One Conscious Love Network. I'm here with Supernova Dave, and Dave is going to introduce himself and tell us what it is that he does. We met back in December with the Bump community, and it's been a real pleasure to get to know you, David. So please take it away and tell everyone who you are and what it is that you do.
Thanks so much for having me. The thing that I do, or the things that I do, has been somewhat of a shifting and moving target throughout my life. I suppose I would describe myself as a prompt engineer, uh, owner of a Facebook group or founder of a Facebook group, Spark Infinity, and an author. I continue to publish books, and there are definitely other creative projects and other endeavors that weave between all those other tasks and projects. But that's pretty much a bird's eye view of what I'm up to nowadays.
Beautiful. Can you expand a little bit on what you've written on and what we can find out there that's written by you?
Well, certainly there's a lot of content online that was written by me. I lost count. I'm pretty sure it's over 3,000 articles and blog posts and news updates and things like that at this point. You can't even find all of it anymore because some of those sites are gone. Some of it was ghost written because I was a ghostwriter for a long time. Every subject under the sun that you can name, architecture in Australia, and mortgages and lending and loans and digital marketing and social media, and the list goes on from there. But for a long time, I was a staff writer for music industry how to and its network of sites that includes things like Musicians HQ, Guitar Aficionado, and Ukulele World. I also have my own site called Music Entrepreneur HQ that doesn't really exist anymore, but it was kind of my mainstay for a while, and I wrote for that. Most of that content is now on davidandrewwiebe.com. And I've got 12 books. So the books span, I think it was 7 or 8 out of 12 books have to do with the music business or the music industry. And then I started putting out books that were perhaps a little more personal in the form of Flashes of Elation, which is for sensitive creatives, especially like intuitive sensitives. Productivity, Performance, and Profits Black Book, which really covered the aspect of how to get things done. And the Fairy Letters and Digital Nomad, those were kind of personal statements and explorations or experiments and sharing about travel and mostly the dark sides of trying to be a digital nomad. And I had so much fun myself, like travel. My life has been marked by travel because I grew up in Japan. So for the most part, I've had nothing but good experiences. But those two books document some of the darker sides of it.
Fascinating. And I know one of your biggest passion is music. I think every time we speak, it comes up again. Did you want to expand a little bit on what sort of offering you have in the music world? What is your contribution?
Yeah, uh, passion is a great word for it. I grew up, in fact, I was born probably with a paintbrush in hand. I followed along with anything I could find on TV, Mr. Dress Up and Sesame Street at the time. If there was any kind of like arts and crafts segment, I would follow along with it. I always thought it was my uncle's influence, and he's a tremendous artist. Can't hold a candle to him. But eventually, that creativity led me to a point of writing my first song. I wrote some lyrics and a melody. And this happened, I believe, yeah, this happened shortly after my dad passed away when I was 13, 14. And he was in a motorcycle accident in coma for 10 days, and he passed away. So that unlocked something. And I think music ended up being a way to address that pain or that trauma and a response to it because I didn't find a lot of expression outside of music at that point. Really didn't feel like I had much of a voice in the world. So after having written my first song and now filling binders with really awful lyrics and awful song ideas, gaining my practice, I picked up the guitar at 17. And that was about the time that I helped my friend buy a drum set because he already played the drums. And we also bought a digital 8-track recorder, which was already kind of outdated at that point, just so we're clear. Yeah, and then we began experimenting. So from there, we eventually set up a home studio and contributed songs to compilation albums. Some of it like original, and some of it was covers or tributes to some of our favorite groups. We began to form bands. One of the first bands was Lightly Toasted Touche. We only ever came out with one EP, but 8 songs. And you can find it on my YouTube channel still. I think that's the only place you can find it right now. Some it's all original music, but some of it was like spontaneous jams, and that was kind of our thing. For whatever reason, I couldn't really hold bands together, so I had to go solo at some point. Yeah, there was another band called Angels Breaking Silence, mostly composed of the same members of Lightly Toasted Touche, just with a new singer. And just like Lightly Toasted Touche, it lasted about a year and a half. So, but in between that, I started my first solo project. I recorded my first solo album, Shipwrecked My Sentiments, attempted to get my second album going in about 2008, 2009, had a falling out with a producer. And I still released music. I had something called Demos 2010. Had a bunch of stuff that was unfinished, but sketches and ideas that I put together throughout that year and released it in early 2011. That's really about the time that I started taking a lot of interest in entrepreneurship because I'd hit an impasse with music. We were in discussions with an agent to take over our booking, and that was exciting. And I thought to myself, here we go. Like finally we strived, we worked hard, we performed live. I brought my own band together, the David Andrew Wiebe band, started to get known, and people paying attention, and it just didn't happen. And so, and we were unfortunately dealing with someone who wasn't totally, a little bit of a flake. So they didn't have their own stuff together, and that was it. I reached a total impasse in music. I couldn't take it any further if I wanted to. There were no options or opportunities on the table, no contracts, nothing, not even an audience that cared. So that's the point at which I reached an impasse. However, did not stop playing music. I did play in a couple bands, Long John Lev. I played in a Def Leppard tribute band, a couple of Adrenalize, and still every once in a while we play a gig, oddly enough, even though the rest of the guys are in Calgary. And in 2016, I did revive my own recording career. And so it's brought me to the point of having 49 songs released. And I think I'm most known for funk rock, but I've released music in a variety of genres. I've got acoustic blues. I've got stuff that's a little more folky and maybe adult contemporary. I've got stuff that's a little more pop and electronic. So 49 songs that are very different from each other in many ways. I think the only cohesive sort of group of songs is my first album, Shipwrecked.
That's cool because it probably goes to show like who you really are. All this diversity and all the different approaches to the music is really a reflection of how diverse you are as well and how interesting and multifaceted you are.
Mm.
I find that really interesting. What would you like to share with people watching?
No, I love your observation that, and I think there is absolutely a parallel between my various interests, hobbies, passions, projects, and the way I approach music as well. And because my journey has been marked by many types of impasses, like the one I just described, where I was serious about music, I wanted to tour the country, wanted to tour North America, didn't come together the way I'd hoped. No support on the label side or the professional side. Really had to make a determination of what I was going to do next. Eventually, I did reach an impasse as an author. I think the last time I really sold books was in 2020. To be fair, like I can't give it my full-time attention at this point, and have been trying to find good promoters to work with, but so far haven't come across any that I would say are great. So with most things that I've done to this point, it my next phase was determined by some kind of impasse that I'd come across. And so the only message that I could relay is what they say about persistence is true. You can't give up, and you just got to find your path. And sometimes it's tough. Sometimes you encounter things that make it seem really difficult to continue. But I had this discussion with one of my friends recently, and I thought, like, if I quit, I'm still alive, right? And that doesn't really seem like an option to me. And then some people might consider self-harm or taking their own life, and I'm like, that's not an option either. So the only option is to continue. And it's just a matter of how we pivot from there.
Yeah, and there's always a nugget in every challenge, right? And it's just seeing that is difficult when you're in it, but then over time you can maybe appreciate and see where the life path is taking you and how it's ever changing. One question I always like to ask everyone is, how do you choose conscious love every day? What does that mean to you?
Well, I think just like happiness, it begins with self. I think, people like us, people like those we associate with and bump, even the people in our group, many of them are used to serving others and maybe sometimes even putting themselves at not risk, but putting themselves at exhaustion and burnout and other things to take care of other people. And you can't be you can't be happy looking into the external. So can you really find love looking into the external? There's little signs, I suppose, like it's nice when someone sends you a gift. It's nice when someone hugs you and there's affection. But if you don't begin inside, um, even those little love languages don't always translate, right? So we got to make sure we're finding love in ourselves and in the divine.
Mm. Yeah, that's beautifully said. Yeah, I really like
Hmm.
that. Anything else you wanted to share with everyone watching today?
I just really appreciate you having me, Melanie, and always revel in these experiences to share a little bit about what I've created and what I've been up to, and just grateful.
Oh, it's a real pleasure to have you as well, Supernova David. I always enjoy talking to you, and I always learn something every time we chat. So today that's going to be the piece of the life challenges and how you can keep going. And it's a good, really good reminder for me today. So I
Hmm.
appreciate it. Yes. Thank you so much for being here. And we're going to put all your links in the comments below. So please, everyone, reach out and make a new friend and a new connection as well. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.